Hello and welcome to Create Context Weekly Movie Minute. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great new year. And with the coming of a new year can only mean one thing: numerous lists spouting the best film of the previous 12 months. 2024 was a bit of a mixed bag when it came to cinema. The year started with some surprises like The Beekeeper and The Fall Guy, and later delivered some real tried and true blockbusters in Deadpool and Wolverine and Dune Part 2. As the year winds down, though, some films have become frontrunners for both these best movie lists and the Oscar race. These films are, for the most part, all great and definitely worth your time, but I thought rather than just talk about Anora, The Brutalist, The Substance, all these movies you're going to see on every other larger outlets lists, let's look at some of the other best movies of 2024. Maybe movies that had a smaller release, they didn't get a bunch of attention, but they are great films nonetheless. These are what I think are the other best movies of 2024. First up is The Beast. La Bête, or The Beast in English, is a French-American time-traveling low sci-fi film starring the incredibly talented Léa Seydoux in a triple role. The Beast is an incredible piece of filmmaking, even though it is far from a perfect film. The film's composed of 3 different timelines that all share the same actors and themes. It's a haunting portrayal of love, desperation, and the longing for shared experiences. The Beast feels in direct conversation with the isolation we all felt over the COVID-19 pandemic, and the performances in this film are second to none. Léa Seydoux has had an incredible career, signing on for interesting projects, and The Beast just might be her finest to date. Just know that the film does have some problems. It runs a little long in places, and some of the narratives are easier to get into than others. Next up is a film called Oddity. Oddity is a low-budget Irish horror film from writer-director Damien McCarthy, and it was distributed by Shudder. Shudder had a massive hit earlier this year with Late Night with the Devil, but Oddity was never able to capture that same momentum. It's a shame because even though Oddity lacks the novel framing device of Late Night, this film is expertly made and tells a haunting story of betrayal and revenge. The majority of Oddity takes place in one set, this giant dilapidated farm home on the Irish countryside that's in various stages of renovation. McCarthy is able to capture the grand scale of this home while simultaneously making it feel small and claustrophobic. You add in some lifelike creepy dolls, a few jump scares, and an odd twisty narrative, and Oddity is one of 2024's standout horror films. Next up is Cuckoo. Hunter Schafer delivers an incredible performance in Tillman Singer's utterly bizarre Cuckoo. Cuckoo is a film about birds, kind of. It's also a film about familial trauma that takes liberal inspiration from Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, The Shining. All of Cuckoo takes place in this grand, large hotel in a beautiful European countryside that feels pulled straight from The Shining. This setting makes Cuckoo feel like a much larger film than it actually is. There are grand ideas, confounding plot points, and these beautiful set pieces. The film wraps up in a way that is terrifying, but also a bit confounding. Cuckoo doesn't perfectly nail the landing, and I think that's why it's not on all of these other 2024 best of lists, but the trip we go on is more than worth the price of admission, if not at least to see Hunter Schafer's rise to a bona fide movie star. Next up, Love Lies Bleeding. This is Rose Glass's follow-up to her 2019 film Saint Maud, and Love Lies Bleeding is both larger in scope and more grand in its themes. Saint Maud is one of my all-time favorite films. There are few movies that deal with terror and psychosis in such a horrifying way as Saint Maud. Her second film, though, Love Lies Bleeding, drops most of these horror elements and instead tells a story of love, lust, and domination against this grimy 1989 aesthetic. Love Lies Bleeding stars Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, and they both deliver incredible performances. Their performances propel the movie forward, and the cast is rounding out by spectacular supporting roles from Dave Franco and Ed Harris. At its core, Love Lies Bleeding is a film about abuse. But the movie expertly portrays each abuser in this negative light while also making us feel uncomfortable about the retaliation leveled against them. It's a deep film with strong metaphors for sex and kink, and one that left me contemplating that wild ending for days. Next up is Smile 2. Parker Finn's excellent horror film Smile got its first sequel this year in what is sure to be a long running franchise. The concept of the Smile universe is an interesting one, and the way he's able to up the stakes in this film without diving too far into exposition and mythos feels really refreshing. Where Smile 1 is a film about trauma and follows a therapist slowly losing her mind throughout, Smile 2 is more of a film about fame. It follows a pop star who has also undergone a very traumatic event, and we watch as her life unravels around her. What is most surprising about Smile 2 is the excellent camera work in the film. The opening sequence is this incredible one shot that looks stunning and keeps you on the edge of your seat for the whole time. There are a ton of fast paced dolly shots, some interesting cuts, and really startling jump scares that make Smile 2 one of the most effective horror films of the year. Next up is Never Let Go. French filmmaker Alexander Aja returns to Hollywood budget movies this year with this secluded horror film, Never Let Go. Never Let Go stars Oscar winner Halle Berry as a single mother tasked with protecting her two small children from the world ending evil that lurks right outside the family's front door. The film takes place mainly in this large farmhouse and is devoid of any outside human contact. Never Let Go can also be read as a trauma response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Barry plays a paranoid mother who will do anything to keep her children safe, even when it's never totally clear exactly what the outside danger is. There are deeper themes as well of familial trauma and hereditary illness, and it's all done exceptionally well here. Never Let Go may not be an Oscar contender, but it's a great horror film. And at just over 90 minutes, it's a film that doesn't overstay its welcome. It presents its ideas, moves along with the story, and comes to a satisfying conclusion. The next movie I want to talk about is Kinds of Kindness. After last year's Poor Things, audiences really seemed ready for Yorgos Lanthimos' next twisted tale. Unfortunately, Lanthimos' follow-up, Kinds of Kindness, may be his least approachable film to date. And that's saying a lot for a director who made a film where Colin Farrell turns into a lobster. Kinds of Kindness is a fable consisting of three stories that share no narrative through line other than a poor gentleman by the name of RMF. Each story runs just a little bit longer than necessary, and the film can at times feel like a slog to get through. Kinds of Kindness is not a movie for everyone. It's very bizarre. The acting and humor are completely deadpanned, and it's often hard to find the exact message Yorgos is trying to portray. But for those who dig what the director is trying to accomplish, a lot is available for interpretation. My recommendation would be don't try too hard with this movie. If you get into it, if you start it and you're not feeling it, just turn it off. This isn't a movie that is going to have grand mass appeal. And if you look at some of the reviews from both critics and users, you'll see that evidently. Some of the things reviewers were saying, like it's laugh out loud funny, I just didn't find true at all. Yes, this movie has some black comedy in it, but nothing I would consider laugh out loud. It's deadpan and dour at best. But I was still able to find a lot of good in Kinds of Kindness and the themes it portrays with themes of religion, themes with abusive partners, and having total control. My personal favorite is the final tale, RMF Eats a Sandwich, as it contains the most ludicrous plot of all three, and it also has the most satisfying ending, in my opinion. Again, your mileage may vary. Another film where I actually don't think your mileage is going to vary is a film called Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is not a forgotten film by any stretch of the imagination, and it's a film that is sure to be watched over and over by true die-hard Alien fans. But it is one that I don't see getting a lot of year-end praise, and that's a shame. Because Fede Alvarez, in my opinion, has made one of the best pieces of Alien media in decades. There's always going to be those who prefer Ridley Scott's Prometheus and the grand ideas he conveyed in that movie. I love that film as well, but Where I felt that film faltered was by abandoning the signature horror the Alien series is known for. Alien Romulus does a fantastic job of bringing the horror back and creating this small, contained story rather than a large scale epic one. We don't get a ton of lore or mythos building in Romulus. We just get this fantastic haunted house in space and some pretty cool action sequences to boot. The ending of Alien Romulus is also one of the most shocking scenes in cinema this year, and I really hope Alvarez gets a chance to continue working on this franchise. Next up is Red Rooms. Red Rooms technically saw its Canadian release in 2023, but it received full distribution this year. This movie is one of the most shocking films I've seen, not just of this year, but maybe ever. Red Rooms has a narrative that never shows its hand throughout its entire runtime, and it is much more than just a horror film. It's an incredible narrative that's told mainly through long prose expositions that are often more terrifying than any images a director could shoot. Red Rooms acts as a commentary on our culture's obsession with true crime. The lead actress in this film plays a sort of fantasy Lisbeth Salander from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo type character who's become obsessed with a trio of grisly murders and the resulting trial that's currently going on. The plot never reveals its hand, and the audience spends just as much time wondering what's going on as the players in the film. Red Rooms is haunting, smart, and it's just expertly crafted. It begins with this very long exposition. About the first 20 minutes of the movie take place with just the opening statements from a prosecutor and a defense attorney, and it's still one of the most engaging moments in cinema I've seen this year. It's a film that I returned to several times and one that continues to make me question the film's finale. Last up is a movie called Milk and Cereal. Milk and Cereal is available exclusively on YouTube, and it's created by YouTuber Curry Baker. He's crafted this excellent feature-length found footage horror film, and the movie was made on a parsley budget of only $800. But that budget and what we see in the final product proves that innovation and ideas can be greater than just a movie's budget. This movie is free on YouTube. I'll link it in the description, and I would recommend anyone interested in horror go check it out. Found footage has kind of become this forgotten genre aside from the VHS series, but I can see this film giving that genre a fresh start. YouTube is kind of the perfect medium for a film like this, and while it is a great film on its own, one that obviously I put on my list, it's one that I hope has a bigger impact. I hope that this inspires younger filmmakers to craft their stories and put them out on a medium like YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching the Weekly Movie Minute. We will be back next week, and we'll also be back with Criterion 40. So feel free to check those out, and we will see you next time.